we have discussed tools of photography earlier on, and we have discussed how the different tools we have help us to take better photographs and take what we think is a correct exposure. Now, manipulating a photograph is one thing, but doing color correction or image processing on the photograph is yet another thing. What we are discussing right now is that if necessary, what we have, if we feel it is falling short of what we experienced actually, we can do a certain amount of image processing in a software to bring back the colors which our eyes saw and witnessed, but which have not been recorded in their initial saturation, intensity or hue. From here, we come to the subject of, and an important subject of, ethics. When we do photography, no matter what kind of photography we do, and as photojournalists, always at the back of our minds, we must ask ourselves that what we are doing, is that right? Ethics is nothing but a judgment of right and wrong, and there is no absolute right and wrong, because situations determine, objectives determine that what is right and what is wrong. So let's find out from Sanjay and Gopinath on what they think are the ethics of being a wildlife photographer.
Quite often if I ask you to imagine a tiger or a lion, it is the way we are brought up, I suppose, is that a roaring tiger or a snarling lion, that's what immediately comes to our mind. But then imagine, we'd also, like when I first, as a kid, when I went and saw a tiger in a zoo, I wanted its mouth to be open where I can see its fangs and everything, ferocious. So ferocity is what has been, kind of inculcated in our minds about these animals. But imagine a tiger to be roaring or snarling at you, which means it should be in a very bad mood. So seeking a photograph, or longing to take a photograph of an animal in a bad mood is something I never wanted to do. But that realization came to me much later when I grew up, when I started observing animals. So why would you frustrate anybody, or why would you poke somebody, make their, get them into bad mood and take a photograph? That is as simple as that. Would you like to take a photograph of an animal like that? No, not needed. So rather, if you look at any animal, like human beings, they all have their own way of living. They all have a certain behavioral pattern. There's so much to learn about it. Photography, as of now, it does not really include audio in it. So if you look at birds, the way they call it, there are different call signs. They call in a different, to call its mate, it will call in one way. To call its children, it will call in one way. And their behavioral patterns, the way they position themselves, or if there is an intruder, the way they position themselves is completely different. So ethics is something that you understand these things, and then you show the behavior of the animal, at the same time not at the cost of irritating the animal. So for example, there was a lot of interest at one point of time to show nesting birds, the eggs or the hatchlings that will just come out of the eggs, or the parents bringing them food. So a lot of people scrambled to kind of set up their cameras over the nest of these birds. But then quite often what people don't realize is the moment they feel there is an intruder, the birds may perceive there's a persistent danger there, so they would even abandon their nest, and the hatchlings are left to starve and die. So a lot of improvement has happened in this wildlife photography. For example, BBC Wildlife Photography Contest plainly refuses any nesting photography these days. So that is what I would like to tell here, is that it should not be, getting a good picture should never be at the cost of irritating the animal. So if you are out in the wild, or even out in the urban jungles, or even in your backyard, you need not irritate or harm somebody to get your photograph. It's a very basic thing. If somebody came and put a camera in front of you and forcibly took a picture, or shouted at you and then wanted to take a photograph when you're angry, you wouldn't be happy about it. It's the same rule that applies there also. So just treat the animals that you're photographing just like the way you treat your friend. As simple as that. You don't have to really study about these theories, ethics, theory of ethics and all those things. It is just having that basic respect for another living being. That's about it. If you have that, then the rest is in place. That's what I feel.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And we should maybe look at, if you look at the root cause of where we go wrong in our ethics, I think it boils down to, now with the onset of social media and everyone posting their images on social media, and it's a big question of how many likes you got, how many comments you got. So that's what I think has driven many people to be unethical, because not everyone has the time and patience to, you know, wait for those likes or wait for that image that will create an uproar in social media. They want constant approval, constant recognition for their work, and that has driven many people and driven a lot of animals, put them at risk, because many people want that like and all that fascination with the social media. So I think we should always focus on having a boundary, because these likes and social media recognition is not at all important as it as an animal's well-being, as its safety and everything else. So that is one main differentiation we need to make, that we should do it because we love it, we love an animal, and that we want to portray the animal in its habitat, in its natural environment. We are not doing wildlife photography, or no one should be doing wildlife photography, especially other photographies. It's not that crucial, while as wildlife photography is. As if you do it for that recognition, for that fame, then you're putting a lot on risk. And it's not just that, today this animal is lost, everyone else will not get to see that animal just because you might, or a group of people might have, pushed that animal to its limits while taking photographs. So you have to really weigh out the problems, whether it's a social media, you're not getting enough likes, or whether the entire animal is at risk. So then you know exactly what is wrong and what is right. So that's.
There are times when not only it is harmful to the animals, there are instances where it has cost the photographer's life also. Especially in social media, you could see a lot of instances of taunting elephants. It is happening in the south of India, it is happening in pretty much all over India. So people try and get as close as possible to the animals, trying to take a selfie. So it is very stressful for the animal, and it also puts the person itself in danger. There have been a lot of cases where elephants have trampled on people and people have lost their lives. So a photograph should never be at the cost of the animal or at cost of yourself.
Yes, really well said. It's very important that when we do any work, including photography and including wildlife photography, we respect the subject who's facing the camera, who we want to take a photograph of, and we also are careful and precautious and take care of protecting ourselves and our own safety. The safety of the person or the animal or any living being who is the subject for our photograph should be taken care of, and we also should be alert, and we should not do things that are foolish and which can get us into difficult situations, or which can put other people or other animals in difficult situations. The photograph is important, but not at the cost of somebody's well-being and life. We hope that this conversation around various concerns with wildlife photography would be beneficial, and you would get glimpses of what is it to be a wildlife photographer, what are the processes that go inside the mind and the heart of a wildlife photographer as he or she gets ready to get images of different kinds of species which they have encountered or faced or seen or heard of. We cannot emphasize enough on the importance of knowledge, of getting to know the behavior pattern of the species you are trying to get photographs of understanding their habitat, of knowing their behaviors, of understanding what kind of lighting surrounds you and how you have to find the best position, the best vantage point that gets you the photograph that you are watching out for. Finally, your love, your interest, your passion, your interest and your respect for the subject will hopefully get you the picture you really want. Thank you, Sanjay, and thank you, Gopinath, for sharing your experiences, your insights, and whatever you have learned in your journey of doing wildlife photography. I'm sure that our students are really going to benefit. So get started and start watching and observing what are the animals and birds that are there in your locality, in your city, in your backyard, in your street, and start observing and start taking photographs. Enjoy as you take and enjoy as you learn.